Hey, house guests! Welcome to today's BBCan 10 updates and spoilers. Hope you're all having a wonderful Wednesday so far. That was corny. Thank you all for being here. Our house guests of the day are Kathleen Chichirsky and Mary Gregoire. I'm so sorry, Kathleen, if I said your name wrong. I have a tendency to do that, but thank you as always. You are both so wonderful, and we appreciate your support so much. So thank you again. And if you guys want to be house guest of the day and have me say your name wrong, check out our Patreon link. Now, yeah, I'm a disaster. Check out our Patreon link in the info box below. I set my alarm this morning for what I thought was 7:30 a.m., but it ended up being 7:30 p.m. and I slept in too late and my whole day was thrown off. But anyway, I also want to thank our super chatters from yesterday before we get started, because you guys are seriously so freaking amazing, and we could not do this without you. So, Jefferson Tucker, Laura Greer, Traval K, thank you all so much. You outdid yourselves yesterday. Absolutely amazing. All right. And we have a super chatter today. Jefferson Tucker's back for more, and he says, "Oh, hi." Love it. Thank you so much, Jefferson. All right. So, let's talk about what's been going on. When we left off yesterday, we've got Kyle and Jess up on the block. They've both been hitting. I'm just going to stop. They've both been hitting the campaign trail, but Jess's future in the house is looking a lot brighter than Kyle's. Kyle, he says he's starting to see the writing on the wall. He just won't stop talking, though. Seriously, it's non-stop talking. So several house guests are already planning on telling Kyle that he just does not have their votes. A few people have told him already. And it looks pretty certain that Kyle will be leaving, likely unanimously, on Thursday. Okay. In other news, the house guests completed all of their tasks that they were assigned via the telephone. Kevin, Jess, and Marty completed the final task together, which earned everyone a takeout meal. And I misspoke yesterday. I thought that they were allowed to start eating real food like right after the task ended, but no. They had to wait until after 9 p.m. and everyone was like dying at that point, so hangry. We'll get there. But we also saw Big Brother opened up a new room off of the Expedia room yesterday. It is a tropical vacation destination. There's sand on the floor and everything. We've seen this before. They had that in season 8. They were going to do that on one season for the US. And then I believe they changed it in between the house reveal and starting the season, because they probably realized we can't have this in the house. This is such a freaking mess. So yeah, that's fun. But anyway, yesterday afternoon, Betty, Josh, Herman, and JC Lynn were all comparing notes on Kyle's campaign, and they were in the tropical vacation destination. So they were all chatting about Kyle, and Marty joined them. And Marty was kind of just listening for the most part, hanging out in there. Actually, he started giving shout outs to his wife, and Herman was like, "Hey, we're having a conversation in here. Could you not do that?" But Herman was saying he feels like a lot of the info from Kyle during his campaigning has been really conveniently timed. Now that Kyle is nominated next to Jess, Kyle's spilling all this tea that Jess is targeting everybody. It's kind of funny though, because Jess is actually targeting Herman, but I don't know if Herman even fully believes that, because anything that Kyle says, everybody's just like, he's lying. So yeah, Josh says he doesn't want to have any more game conversations with Kyle, because Kyle will just take whatever you say and weaponize it, because he basically told Kyle that he forgives him on a personal level, not in the game. And then he's hearing that Kyle's telling people, "Oh yeah, Josh forgave me. So if you want to forgive me too and vote for me to stay, that'd be great." And Josh is like, "That's not what happened." Betty says she already told Kyle she's not voting for him to stay. And she did tell him that. And she says Kyle is claiming that other people influenced his decision last week to put Josh up on the block. And that is true. And the influencer is in the room with you. So Marty pipes up and he's like, yeah, it was true. I told Kyle to put Josh up on the block. Ah! So everybody else was just like silent after hearing that. And Marty says, yeah, I felt really bad about it. So I ended up telling Josh the day after. This is like kind of awkward because Josh has not told his allies that Marty admitted this to him. So everyone was just under the impression that Kyle was lying about all this and Marty was not the reason that Kyle ended up putting Josh up on the block. And yeah, Josh did not share this information. So Herman says at the end of the day, it was still Kyle's HOH and Kyle's decision, which is true. But Betty is just like, this is wild. Perhaps she's wondering why Josh didn't tell her this before. Josh says he didn't want to go around telling people this information out of respect for Marty. And Betty's telling Marty, it's over now. Who cares? We're moving on, right? Kyle is leaving this week, whatever. Okay. So they all agree they might also be a little snippy right now because they're hungry. They're so hungry. They're waiting for this special reward meal. So a little later, Kyle and Marty are chatting in the HOH room. And Kyle says, I want to leave this house as Kyle, not Kyle Moore, the BB Canada player. He says, if tomorrow is my last day, I want everyone like wearing my merch. I want to have conversations about mental health. I want to plant positive seeds before I leave. And just to give you guys some context, if you don't know this, Kyle has a podcast about mental health outside of the house. He also sells clothing that I guess pertains to mental health. All those like better sweatshirts and hats that everybody's been wearing, those are all Kyle's merch. So he wants to get some exposure for all that before he leaves. I think the mental health advocacy is great, but why hasn't he been talking about this all along? Why is he waiting until the last minute to do it? It feels weird. But anyway, Kyle says if enough people tell me by the end of today that I don't have their vote, then the campaigning is going to stop. I'm fighting to stay, but I'm also not going to beat a dead horse, if it's obvious that I'm leaving. You're kind of already doing that. Okay. So Kyle says to Marty, he thinks that Marty still has a chance to make it really far in the game. He has time to rebuild his social relationships, and he's telling Marty, you're a strong player. People will want to work with you and keep you around. He advises Marty, talk to everyone in the house. Everyone has a valuable perspective. And he says, one of the mistakes that I made last week, I only talked to like 2 or 3 people when I should have been talking to everyone. And look what happened. Was that like sort of a diss to Marty since Marty was one of the people he was talking to? I don't know. But Marty says he appreciates Kyle's advice and he's telling Kyle, we're both from New Brunswick. We're definitely going to be friends on the outside. We'll meet up. We'll hang out. And Marty asks Kyle, where do you think everybody stands in the house right now? So Kyle gives his opinions on everyone. I'm just going to talk about the ones that are like a little more important, whatever. The highlights here. Kyle says Tanisha and Summer are probably the strongest social players in this game, and nobody is really targeting them. I mean, Gina was definitely considering targeting Tanisha this week. So I don't know about that part, but sure. Kyle says Tanisha and Moose are also really tight. Betty is a part of that. And Kyle says Betty rubs me the wrong way. Kyle definitely seems to think he's better than Betty. And it really burns him that he's going to be leaving before Betty does. And this is actually something that other people have picked up on too. Like, I think it was Kevin who said he gets so annoyed when Kyle is talking about how like he deserves to be there more than somebody like Betty. So Kevin's like, he's very defensive of Betty in those situations. But yeah, Kyle's saying Betty rubs him the wrong way and that she's definitely working with Tanisha and Summer. And Kyle later also mentioned that Herman could be working with that group. So Kyle says Josh is really smart, He's a strong competitor. People want to work with him. And he thinks that Marty should try and build a relationship with Josh. Um, Kyle says that Gino and JC Lynn are power players. They're a blatant showmance. You think? um, and he says Gino and JC Lynn are trying to rebuild relationships this week. He didn't really say like if Marty should work with them or not, but I don't know what that was all about. Kyle warns Marty to be wary of Jess. He says Jess is a little manipulative. They get people to do what they want. And, I've been advocating for Jess for weeks now, and Jess has been planting little seeds of doubt about me to other people. So by the end of this assessment, Kyle is again pushing that he is certain that Tanisha, Summer, and Betty are working together as a trio. He says there's no way that three people can hang out that much and not be talking any game. So he says if I could go back in time, I would have taken Betty out on my HOH. Shoulda, coulda, woulda. Anyway, a little later, Summer, Betty, and Josh are chatting in the beach room, or sorry, the tropical vacation destination. And Summer says, I've got a really big issue with Kyle grouping me, Betty, and Tanisha as a trio. And this is something that we've heard Summer talk about before. She actually called Marty out on grouping the three of them together. And now she's hearing that Kyle is doing the same thing as in his campaigning. So Betty's asking, why would he say that we're a trio? That paints a huge target on our backs. People are going to want to break us up. And we're not even a trio. So they feel like Kyle is just grouping them together because they're the three black girls this season. And they're saying, like, the three of us don't even spend that much time with all three of us together. Maybe Summer and Tanisha are hanging out, maybe Betty and Tanisha are hanging out, whatever, but never all three of them at the same time for more than like a few minutes. And Josh is like, yeah, I don't see that either. So Summer is saying this narrative needs to stop. It's another reason Kyle's got to go. He's really damaging our games and putting us in danger by saying all this. So a little later, Betty and Tanisha are chatting in the beach room. And of course, there's more talk about Kyle's campaigning. That's like the big topic to talk about right now. And we've already heard this part, so we're not going to dwell on that. But Betty is talking about how Marty was the one who convinced Kyle to target Josh last week, which we know this is true. We've seen it. And now the house guests are all are finding this out because Marty is owning up to it again. But I don't think Tanisha realized at that point in the conversation that Marty actually already owned up to it, because Betty brought it up again later and Tanisha was like, what? He said that? So I think it kind of went over her head at first. But Betty is saying she would like to target Marty if she wins HOH. She's saying, we got to watch out for him. He's a strong competitor. He's a flip-flopper. And she says it's going to have to be a backdoor move. I mean, Marty took himself off the block just this week, right? So Tanisha's like, yeah, but keeping Marty could be good because he'll go after Gino. Would he though? I have my doubts. Marty and Gino have already been rebuilding. They've patched things up. I don't know that Marty would go directly after Gino like that. But Betty's like, nah, I'm more worried about Marty than I am about Gino. And I'd have to agree with that. She says that Marty is an emotional player. I mean, his HOH was pretty messy too, right? Yeah. He's always spilling game information. He's not good at lying. He's a mess. So Tanisha agrees, yeah, Marty is a huge threat. And again, she was surprised to hear that Marty actually admitted to being the person who told Kyle to put Josh up on the block last week. So Betty says, as hard as it would be to get rid of Marty soon, it's going to be even more difficult later on. True. She's right. All right. Meanwhile, Herman and JC Lynn are chatting in the backyard. And JC Lynn is like, oh my God, all of my alliances were blown up last week. I mean, I guess true, right? Because she only really had the retreat with Stephanie, Herman, Kyle, and Gino. But like, what is this all of? She's talking about one, whatever. It just made me laugh. But anyway, she says she's trying to reestablish and rebuild relationships and trust with people. And Herman says, yeah, I'm in a similar boat. A lot of my stuff got blown up last week. Everything was obliterated. And JC Lynn lets Herman know she's not mad at him for flipping his vote last week or for keeping her in the dark. She says it's all good. They both agree that Kyle needs to go this week. Duh. Herman says he would be down to work with Gino and JC Lynn. But he does say it doesn't need to be an official group per se. He says, I feel like we have a lot to offer each other game wise, but it doesn't need to be like this solid alliance. He says, as long as we're moving in the same direction and not taking shots at each other, that would be great. It sounds like some sort of like friends with benefits situation, but they don't want to like define the relationship. So JC Lynn is on board with this. She says, yeah, I'm not targeting you. Herman says he's not targeting her or Gino, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So Big Brother finally gave the house guests their reward meal at like 9:15 p.m. These people are ready to freaking pass out or like rip each other's heads off. I don't know, maybe both. But everybody was cheering because this also means that they are off of slop. They would not be able to handle a full week of slop, most of them, because they were really losing it. But Big Brother got them this nice ass Italian meal to enjoy. The storage room was restocked, and Marty and Josh had a brief chat in the storage room. Marty says, I have to, I did not mean to throw you under the bus, Josh, by revealing that I had already told you that I was the one to push Kyle to nominate you last week. And Josh says, it's okay. I already fixed it. It's already taken care of. And it does seem like Josh has already smoothed all this over. It doesn't really seem to be an issue at this point. But Marty says he felt bad. He did not think before he spoke. Seems to be a lot of that going on. And Josh assures him, it's okay. Don't worry. So the rest of last night was pretty chill. And then this morning, it was time for some game talk, right? So Herman is really wanting to lock in a new alliance. Time is of the essence here because Herman knows if he can get this locked in before the next HOH, it's going to feel a lot more genuine instead of waiting until after to see who wins and then trying to set something up. Then it feels kind of icky, right? So Herman was chatting with Josh in the red bedroom. They're talking about how the Savage 7 blew up last week, yada, yada, yada. And then Herman says there's still power in numbers, but 7, way too much, right? 7 is too much at this point in the game. So he would like maybe an alliance of like 4 or 5 people. They would still have a good deal of numbers, but it would be manageable. There would still be targets too, within the rest of the house. So Josh is like, I don't know. I think we could still get away with 6 for the next week or two because there are going to be 12 people left after this week. So that's half the house. So he feels good about having a 6. So then they both reveal to each other, neither of them really have a final 2 deal at this point. And Herman says, I had you in mind for that. So just as they're like talking about potentially making a final 2, of course the feed's cut for a few minutes. No! But it seems that they do agree to a final 2 deal. They're saying they're going to consult each other if either of them win HOH or POV moving forward. They want to make sure they consider each other's opinions before they make any decisions. And they're talking about how they have to stay committed to each other. They're going to call themselves the BC Babies, potentially, because they're both from British Columbia. And they were also talking about how on top of this final 2, they want to create a final 5, with Tanisha, Summer, and Moose, which is kind of interesting because I thought that Moose was going to be left out of that group because when Herman was talking about it with Tanisha the other day, she was like, I don't really trust Moose because Moose was mentioning potentially targeting Tanisha and Herman in the past. So she is a little bit wary of him. But at this point, it seems to be there will be a final 5 with Moose, Summer, Tanisha, Josh, and Herman. And then also remember, that group is all also a part of the True Fuse Alliance along with Betty and Helena. So it's like those, what's it called? Those like Russian dolls I don't remember the official name for it, but the Russian dolls where like you open it and then there's another one and then there's another one. It just keeps going. That's what this alliance setup is. But I'm curious how legit this final 2 deal between Josh and Herman is, because I'd like it to be real. I think it's a good duo, but Josh is being pulled in so many different directions right now. Everybody wants to work with Josh. So I don't know how he ranks all of these new deals and alliances. But in other news, Kyle was still trying to campaign this morning. And he's telling Josh, if I stay, I'm going to be all alone. I'm going to be on an island. And this is really a situation of the devil you know versus the devil you don't. And of course, he's saying that he would be the devil you know and Jess is the devil that you don't. So Josh let Kyle know he is not voting to keep him. He's had enough of this. He doesn't want any more campaign conversations from Kyle. So then Kyle chats with Jess a little later in the red bedroom, and Kyle tells Jess, I think you're playing a really good game. You're a strong competitor. You know, people have this perception of you that you're a lone wolf, but you've built relationships with big players in this game. So Kyle at one point acknowledges that he was his own downfall last week, but then like a second later he says Marty had a lot to do with it too. You know, Marty takes a lot of blame on that. But Kyle is again praising Jess and their gameplay, and Jess is pretty touched by this. Jess starts crying, and they say that they're upset for Kyle on a personal level, that things have gone down this way. They feel bad about what happened last week. They didn't like having to lie to Kyle, but they were just really mad at him with how everything went down. So Kyle's like, yeah, I effed up. I get it. And he asks Jess to look out for Gino. No. But just like, yeah, okay. Kyle is pretty sure that he's going because now he has heard from multiple people, including Josh, that they're going to vote him out. So he's pretty sure he's going. Yeah, he is. Unless something insane happens. You never know. But we are 1 day from the eviction. It's happening tomorrow, and I think we know who's leaving. But I'm interested to see who's going to emerge as the next big target. I know people have mentioned Marty, Herman. There's been talk about breaking up Tanisha, Moose, come on in, and Summer, and Herman. Yay, come on, big puppy.
Said you're blocking my way.
Oh, hello. Hi, Mr. Smiles. So we'll see who the next big targets are going to be. Of course, it's going to depend on who wins next HOH. Hi, Bowie. Hi, Bowie.
Oh, he said Kyle's gotta go.
Oh, Bowie would like to thank our super chatters today.
Oh, Bubby.
Yes. So Jefferson Tucker, you wrote Tuckery.
Did I?
Yeah. Jefferson Tucker, thank you so much for the support as always. Yes. And Susan Pengeli or Pendley. Why am I always messing up your name?
You suck.
Sometimes I feel like even when you guys tell me how to say your names, I have like the memory of a goldfish or the attention span of a goldfish, and I forget. It's hard to keep track of everyone. I'm so sorry. But Susan, thank you for the super chat. She says, just wanted to thank you for keeping us up to date on the feeds. I really enjoy them and have for years. You are so, so sweet. Thank you so much.
You're a doll.
You really are. Riley Rage says, free Janet from the closet.
It's a 2-door
Don't
closet.
worry. It's not actually a closet. It leads to the rest of the house.
Yeah.
So I want to thank you all again, as always, for being here and for being so awesome. And we'll see you later. Tonight is an early episode. Just a reminder, tonight's episode is on at 7. So
it's the only door in this room.
Yes.
It's the only way to get out.
Yes. So don't worry. But we'll see you all later. So until then, much love. Bye, everybody.